What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explain here, bringing you guys another Boruto 2 Blue Vortex discussion. Today, I want to pull up a chair and talk to you guys about the big elephant in the room that some people have pointed out should be considered something as a bit of a cause for concern, which is the fact that we are now 7 chapters deep into Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, and we have not seen Boruto use the Karma Seal once in battle. Now, I've been pretty open in the past on why I think that this is the case from a narrative perspective, because I think it gives a good way to start judging and scaling characters accordingly by showing us how far Boruto has grown in base before you start stacking Momoshiki's power via the basic Karma Seal, and then the full power by using True Essence Karma. And I feel even more strongly about this being the right decision after the introduction of those of all Shinju: Jura, who is hunting Naruto, Matsuri, who is hunting Konohamaru, Bug, who's hunting Ada, and Hidari, who is hunting Sarada. It does feel like this is a bit of a delayed payoff to Boruto using Karma for the first time after the time skip, whenever that happens, because it's been so long since we've seen him use it. Whenever he does use it, it's gonna hit like crack. But I want to take a moment to take things a step further now that the latest chapter has shown more death flags that have been planted for Boruto's character, and I want to link it to the narrative decision to why he hasn't been shown using the power of the Karma Seal, and why I think anybody freaking out should just calm the hell down. As you all know, and you can tell based off of the thumbnail, which is either going to be artwork of Boruto holding Himawari's head or Boruto holding Sarada's head with Momoshiki in the background, depending on what I tell the channel artist to draw for the thumbnail. I do think we have to explore the possibility that Boruto isn't using Karma, not because he hasn't faced someone strong enough to make him use it, but rather because he has a good reason to be afraid of using that power. When you look at Boruto versus Code, Boruto joined the long list of people who just showed up and took turns whooping Code and making him feel more and more like the Rock Lee of Naruto villains, where it's not necessarily fodder, but when compared to everyone else, he just looks less impressive due to being power cliff out of the series in terms of relevancy. And I think that Boruto's PTSD and his fear of Momoshiki's power is something where you've got a very strong internal conflict that can be used to elevate the external conflict. So look at what we have here. There wasn't really a need for Boruto to use Karma at any point against Code. You could argue maybe he could have used it against Kawaki when Kawaki confronted him, though you do have people saying Kawaki's on fraud watch. But Boruto's intention, it was never to fight Kawaki right then and there. He basically viewed Kawaki as an afterthought, because dealing with Code and the Ten Tails, it was a more pressing matter. However, that battle against the Evolved Shinju, that was where the eyebrow went up. We saw Boruto desperately asking Code, "Hey fam, help me out with this one right here." And based off what we saw, while Boruto wasn't losing the fight, he wasn't winning the fight either. Dare I say it, Boruto looked like he struggled a little bit. The Shinju, they had home field advantage in that fight. They had the numbers advantage, and Boruto was clearly off guard and unprepared. And given how quickly Kashin Koji read the situation and said, "Hey Boruto, you got to get out of here," it stands to reason that those Shinju, had they ganged up on Boruto, one of them, like Matsuri, could have swallowed every inch of Boruto whole when she got her mouth around him and followed her instincts as a Shinju to consume an Otsutsuki. Kashin Koji trained Boruto during the time skip, so at the very least, Koji saw enough to be worried about Boruto in that moment. However, when Boruto never used the Karma Seal, you had to ask yourself the question, why? Maybe you can make the argument, given the situation, Boruto decided this might not be the best place for a long dragged out fight, where the lower the bar is for his enemy to clear the win in terms of a win condition than what Boruto has. After all, they just need to bite him and it's game over, whereas Boruto needed to outright destroy them. That's a lot more effort. It's for that reason you would think that maybe he would have used Karma, just given the huge boost in power that Karma gives the person when they use it. If his base is already as powerful as it is now, where base Boruto is stronger than Jigen, the Karma Seal should have been useful in this moment, because you're taking a base that is stronger than Jigen and you're adding Momoshiki's power on top of that. That is insanely powerful. However, I do think we have to consider the possibility that Boruto, for all his improvements that he's made during this 3-year time skip, where he's pulled up with Minato's Flying Raijin, which somewhere Toby Rama's getting pissed off I even said that, Kakashi's Purple Lightning, and he's now using toads and everything for fights, he might have potentially still not mastered using the karma seal. And if that's the case, we have to consider the possibility that he's got reservations about using karma because of the danger that Momoshiki presents to him. And I think that should that happen, that's really good writing. It's not by mistake that we haven't seen a pip out of Momoshiki during the 3-year time skip or even in Boruto 2 Blue Vortex. It's the elephant in the room, the same way that Boruto hasn't been shown using the karma seal yet, and it's intentional. Every month people are saying, where is Momoshiki? Why isn't Boruto using karma? And you know that that's something that is intentional. It's something that as a writer you have because it's keeping people reading. Boruto using karma and not being in full control of Momoshiki's power offers the risk of Boruto burning through chakra faster, and as we've been told in the series before, once Boruto's chakra levels dip below a certain point, Momoshiki can take over his body via hijacking it. Which, as a reminder, since I still see people that are confused about this whole Momoshiki thing, Momoshiki only lost the ability to resurrect himself using Boruto's body when he brought Boruto back to life after Kawaki killed him. He did not, however, lose the ability to hijack control of Boruto. If Boruto were a car, all Momoshiki lost was the ability to own the car at the end of the loan per se, with the loan being Momoshiki's genetic data overriding Boruto's and erasing his soul. The same way pay down a car loan and you get the title at the end of paying off the loan. Momoshiki's basically that guy who got his car repossessed but still goes to the dealership and gets test drives on the same car, or goes to a rental car agency to rent the car to drive. He can drive it every now and then if things line up for him, but he never owns the car, just as he can hijack Boruto's body, but he can never resurrect inside of it. That's the whole reason Kawaki wants to kill Boruto. It's not because Boruto's genetically a Satsuki, it's because Boruto is still a danger to Naruto in the world. Because Momoshiki can still take over his body under the right circumstances. Had Boruto been brought back to life and there was no danger of Momoshiki hijacking him, Kawaki would not want to kill him. Momoshiki being in control of Boruto's body, even for a short period of time, it is enough to do quite a bit of damage in a short period of time, especially given how strong Boruto's gotten during the 3 years of training since the end of Boruto Naruto Next Generations. If the narrative introduces us to the possibility that Boruto is reluctant to use karma due to not being in full control of that power and wanting to open himself up to the possibility of his chakra dropping low enough for Momoshiki to take control, we now have another layer of conflict. And with any good conflict, when you have a strong internal conflict, Boruto's fear of losing control, with an external conflict, everything that's going on with all these battles that are being set up, that's good writing. As a writer, you want to play with conflict. That suddenly puts people like Himawari and Sarada in danger, because Momoshiki would be going for the quickest path possible to make Boruto suffer, because Momoshiki laid out what his blueprint was going to be in Boruto Naruto Next Generations. He was no longer satisfied with just occasionally hijacking Boruto's body, even though he lost the ability to resurrect himself using Boruto. The goal was complete domination and control. It was still there. The path to getting that just changed because he knew he had to mentally shatter Boruto by gaslighting him into despair so great he gave up on the will to live and handed over complete control of his body willingly to Momoshiki. Similar to Jujutsu Kaisen, without going into spoilers. If you know, you know, but without going into spoilers, is how Sukuna did something similar with another character in JJK by gaslighting them into despair until they completely gave up the will to live and their soul was so destroyed, they aren't even a shell of themselves anymore. They just merely exist where the lights are on, but nobody's home. And I'm not talking about Yuji Itadori. Again, I won't go into spoiler. Momoshiki is inside of Boruto. He saw Boruto lose the person standing in his corner when Sasuke got turned into a tree. It pissed Momoshiki off that Sasuke was still there to give Boruto hope. And because Boruto still had that hope, Momoshiki was extremely pissed off. Kashin Koji at some point became his ally during the time skip, and he gave Boruto hope. Boruto still has hope of being able to turn Sasuke back to normal. He has a purpose now because his goal isn't just to rescue his parents. It isn't just to find a way to reverse omnipotence. It's also to save Sasuke and protect Sasuke's daughter, because Sasuke basically, with his last words to Boruto, said, hey, protect my daughter. That's all the more reason for him not to give into using karma, assuming of course he can't control it right now, because he might be putting others at danger. People like Sarada, who Boruto's supposed to protect. And as we've seen, Boruto mentally does have some fear of losing control and hurting people because of the PTSD that came from Sasuke getting his Rinnegan destroyed because Momoshiki went pokey poke and Momoshiki attempting to kill Naruto. I think narratively, this makes the most sense to go the route of Boruto still not having slayed that figurative dragon that Momoshiki represents. It becomes more of a conflict for his character. It becomes hard times, and it's something that's needed. We don't need a super Boruto moment. We don't need Boruto crybaby moments. If the guy pops up and has control of karma and has suppressed Momoshiki this early on, that's where I would personally draw a line, because I don't think there's enough payoff to that being the case this early on. Boruto having that additional boogeyman to deal with is something that could be used to both further build his character as well as give him something else to work towards to continue making him more sympathetic. It's already tough to see Boruto unable to peacefully return home, having his sister not recognize him as brother, and have his own village hunting him down. Granted, Boruto's like, hey, I like that kind of shit. It's something that's needed. I think that you add in the possibility of having him fear for the safety of others that are close to him. That's going to raise the stakes even further when it comes to interactions moving forward and give more incentive to have him look for a way to free himself from Momoshiki entirely. Obviously, we don't know why Boruto hasn't used karma yet, but what I do know is that if you haven't checked out the chapter review already, you really need to, because the channel editor absolutely crushed the review. Best review for Boruto 2 Blue Vortex we've done so far out of the 7 on the channel.